We're 48 days away from Election Day, and the candidates are ramping up efforts on the campaign trail. Donald Trump is holding a rally in New York this evening. Last night, he appeared for a town hall in Flint, Michigan, marking his first campaign event since the second apparent assassination attempt on his life. Vice President Harris was in the battleground state of Pennsylvania yesterday, speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists. And today, she's launched a new ad targeting Asian American voters. So we have team coverage of both campaigns this morning with Caitlin Huey-Burns in Flint, Michigan, and Shawna Mizelle in Minneapolis. And so we're going to start with Caitlin. You're following the Trump campaign for us. Tonight, Trump's set to hold a rally in Long Island, New York. New York is mostly a blue state. Why is Trump? But it's not like he hasn't ventured into areas that were considered blue before. He did want, I think, a rally in Brooklyn, right? Why is Trump holding a rally here, and what do you expect him to focus on during this event?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, good to see you. When we talk about the battleground states that will determine who wins the White House, New York is never one of them. We know that it is a solidly blue state and not likely to go for the Republican this cycle. But there are a handful of really key House races there, especially on Long Island. If you think back to the midterms in 2022, those House races determined who won control of the House. Republicans won a bunch of seats, and that helped them win over control of the House. It's such a slim margin in the House, so those seats will be critical this time around. Trump also likes to go to bluer areas to try and show support in kind of not friendly territory. So that's also part of the messaging here. But bottom line is that the campaign is continuing on business as usual, really adamant to get back out on the trail in light of that second apparent assassination attempt just about 3 days ago. And so they're continuing all planned events going forward.
So in regards to that apparent attempt on his life, last night, Speaker Johnson spoke about wanting more security detail for Trump. I want to play a little of that sound.
My demand has been that President Trump should have the same exact level of protection as a sitting president, as President Biden has himself. He is under constant threat, and he's in the midst of a heated campaign, and this is an obvious thing now proven that we need to do.
So I was a little sort of confused about this because when we listened to the acting head of the Secret Service, he said that, the president, the vice president, and former President Trump all have the highest level of security, but maybe they don't. How does his protection differ from, say, what President Biden has?
Yeah, all of this has really shed a light on Secret Service protection of candidates, presidents and former presidents. There is often a distinction between, the president and vice president and a candidate or a former president, just because the level of activity is not usually the same. But Donald Trump is a completely, a different kind of figure. He had a very different schedule than most former presidents when he left office. He continued to be out on the road hosting rallies. Now, of course, he is the Republican nominee for president. So he also has a lot of properties that he attends, and he's out on the road all the time. He's also one of the most famous and arguably one of the most polarizing figures pretty much on the planet, so requires a different kind of level of security. Now, the Trump campaign has said that they've been asking for additional security for the past 2 years. They've asked for that additionally also in light of the Butler assassination attempt just about 2 months ago, and they're also asking for more after Sunday's events. You also heard from President Joe Biden saying that he would like former President Trump to have all the security that he needs, that he should have more. There is a question of resources and also budget. Congress right now is debating a budget bill on Capitol Hill and a must-pass spending measure before the government shuts down at the end of the month. So this could be increased funding could be included in that measure. And you've seen lawmakers from both sides of the aisle say that they're considering that.
All right, Caitlin, thank you very much. And now I want to bring in Shawna Mizelle. You are following the Harris campaign for us from Minnesota, Shawna. So Harris is speaking to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute's Leadership Conference today. The appearance is tied to the National Hispanic Heritage Month. What types of appeals, though, has she really been making to Hispanic voters?
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Great to be with you again. We've seen Harris and her campaign really attempt to meet Latino and Hispanic voters where they are. They've been doing this by doing targeted ad buys in historic numbers, but not only on television. They've been doing radio advertisements with Spanish narrators, and they've also done advertisements at sports events where they think Latino voters would be watching, like Copa America, where the campaign ran ads back when Biden was heading the ticket. But we know that Latino voters are going to be a core part of the electorate, really needed to win this election in November, and particularly in those battleground states like Arizona.
And Harris is also set to speak virtually to another key group, young adults. What can you tell us about her campaign's efforts to court this group, and have they been effective?
The campaign just this week announced a new effort to engage with young voters. They are going to be focusing on young voters, college students in battleground states like Georgia, where we saw Governor Tim Walz on the campus of Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark yesterday, also visiting Georgia Tech. Let's take a listen to what he told some of those students in Georgia yesterday.
A good education that's not a lifetime of student loan debt, but opportunities for you, making sure that we're making paths affordable for all of you, and then tackling some of the toughest issues, whether that's climate change or some of the issues around the economy, to make sure that you see your future as a chance to live whatever life you want.
Now, young voters that I spoke to over this swing told me that they were excited, more energized, and certainly more excited than when Biden was the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. But you asked, will this be effective? And I think that's something that we will have to continue to watch and remains to be seen, because we know young voters may not always be the likely voters that we see turn out come November.
Yeah, that's a great point, Shawna. Thank you very much.